Hello guys, this is your fanfic dojo and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto was banished from Konoha with Tsunade Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. As Naruto looked inside, he saw what looked like a giant throne room, and Naruto thought, looks a little like Yuki's throne room. I wonder how she is doing. As he looked around some more and saw several people leaving the room, and Renji began to walk down the red carpet. Naruto followed and he soon saw an outline of a person sitting in a throne with an empty seat beside him, but because of the lighting Naruto could not see any details of the person. Renji said, "Your lordship, allow me to introduce to you the boy who claims to be Naruto Uzumaki, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune." Naruto said, "What do you mean claim to be? I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I do have Kyuubi inside of me." A commanding male voice said, "Silence," startling Naruto. Naruto frowned and crossed his arms and looked up at the seat where the person was sitting. The voice Naruto realized was coming from the seat said, "What proof do you have to claim to be the son of Kushina Uzumaki?" Naruto bit his lip and thought, of course they want some kind of proof. I just walk in without hardly any warning and claim to be the son of some woman I never heard of until yesterday. Maybe telling the truth will work. And said, "Look, I don't know who she was or anything. All my life I have been an orphan. I was told over and over again that my parents either abandoned me, they were dead or missing. I was hated by my home village until about 9 months ago without ever knowing why the hell I was hated, until one of my academy instructors tricked me into doing something and then he tried to kill me, but not before telling me about Kyuubi, which is why I was hated. Then recently my teammate abandoned the village and shoved a Chidori through my chest, and the council told Tsunade Bakken that either she banish me or I would be executed. She then talked to Ero Sanin and he had the toads take me to their home to finish healing, and they told me my father was the Yondaime Hokage. They didn't tell me who my mother was, and I still did not know until yesterday when the toads brought me to where Tsunade Bakken was, and she had told me that we were coming here to meet some guy named Ichigo Uzumaki, the brother to Kushina Uzumaki, my mother. I never heard of her or this Ichigo guy before, so I don't know if it's true or not. Truthfully, with all the other shit that's going on in my life at the moment, I don't have time to even worry about it." By this time Naruto had began to pace back and forward, completely lost in his own thoughts as he kept on talking, never even noticing Renji or the man on the throne looking at him. Kyuubi said, "Only you could get yourself into these situations. First the girls and now this. How do you do it, Kit?" Naruto rubbed his head and said, "Damn it, Kyuubi, what a mess. I can't prove shit because I don't know if it's true or not. Bakken got all my hopes up yesterday saying I had an uncle, and I may or may not. I don't know, and I got some ego-tripping dipshit here who reminds me of Yuki's uncle before I kicked his ass, acting all high and mighty, who probably got some big stupid plan to keep me from even meeting this guy Ichigo, so that way he could probably take over the country in some kind of ultra fucked up emo plan where he finally goes in for the kill only to forget he left all his weapons on the table in his office and gets his ass killed. Can't I even get a break?" As Naruto looked back at the throne, Naruto blinked and asked, "What?" Renji said, "You do know you said all that out loud, right?" Naruto palmed his face and said, "Damn it, Kyuubi, why did you have to distract me, and why didn't you tell me I was talking out loud?" Naruto face scrunched up as Kyuubi said, "It was fun to watch and listen to." Naruto shook his head and said, "Damn vixen, give her an inch and she runs your life." As he looked up at the throne and said, "Alright, it's obvious I don't know shit about this Kushina lady. I don't know if she was my mother or not, and I don't know what happened to her after I was born. All I know is what I've been told. I figure you're probably some asshole just like the Fire Lord has, who has to meet everyone before they can see the actual Fire Lord to see if they are important enough." Gigi took me to see him enough times when I was younger to know that much about this political crap, so how about you tell me what you want? All I have in the world is what's on me and the woman who are with me. I don't have any picture, or relics. I don't have any special jutsu besides Kuchio's no jutsu, Rasengan, Kujbunshin no jutsu, Sexy no jutsu, Harem jutsu, Henge, and replacement. I know a few chakra exercise and I just learned the Sage Tiahutsu. If any of those will work as proof then fine, but if not then I guess we're both shit out of luck. I could use some of Kyuubi chakra if that will prove anything, but I doubt it. Silence fell over the room for a good minute and Naruto had his hands on his hips and finally asked, "Are you going to say anything, because if you're not then can I see this Ichigo guy? I want to find out if this Kushina lady really was my mother, and if so then ask if he knows what happened to her. If not then let me go back to Bakken and the others and we can get the hell out of here." Renji finally said, "Do you wish for me to kill him, sir?" As he grabbed the hilt of his sword. Naruto tensed and looked at Renji and finally laughter came from the throne and said, "No, don't kill him. I think I rather kiss him." Naruto paled and said, "Oh god, another gay pedophile. Why me? Please tell me you don't have 50-foot-long snakes ready to eat me like the last guy, because I know from experience that I can blow them up from the inside with Kujbunshin." As he started looking around the room for a way out. Laughter could be heard as the guy on the throne fell down the stairs holding his side as Naruto got his first look at the guy who stood about 5 feet 10 with red hair with gray in it, and he had green eyes, and the guy said, still holding his side, "If you are who you claim to be then you may have your father's looks but you definitely have your mother's attitude. Only she would have the balls to tell a feudal lord he's a stuck-up asshole and not give a fuck." As he slowly stood up catching his breath. He said, "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ichigo Uzumaki." As he straightened his cloths. Naruto blinked and blinked again and said, "Oops." As he rubbed the back of his head. Ichigo glanced at Renji and nods, and Naruto didn't see it, and suddenly he saw Renji blur out of the corner of his eye and Naruto felt a blade cross against the side of his neck drawing a tiny line of blood but suddenly stopped. Naruto, acting on instinct, jumped back and he held his neck and quickly drew a kunai and asked, "What the hell?" Renji looked at the blade and said, "Here's your sword back, sir." As he handed the blade back to Ichigo. Ichigo looked at it a moment as he took it back and said as he looked up at Naruto, "You were telling the truth. You really are Kushina's son." Naruto blinked and asked, "Huh?" Ichigo said, "Leave us." As Renji nods and leaves the room. Once he was gone, Ichigo held the sword in his hand and said, "This sword has been in our family for over 400 years. One of our ancestors was a powerful warrior, however he was accident prone and kept cutting himself with his own blade, so his wife put seals on it that made it where the blade could never cut his body once it hit his blood, only giving him small paper cuts to make him learn not to cut himself. Ever since then this blade has passed down from generation to generation, always being given to a family member to learn to use a sword without killing themselves. It's one of the only relics of our family left to survive the fall of Whirlpool Country. It is impossible for this blade to kill an Uzumaki. I had Renji wait until you were distracted and try to cut off your head with the blade so you couldn't protect yourself with some sort of jutsu. If you had not been an Uzumaki then you would have been dead. You have to understand I needed some way to prove you were who you claim to be, since I am a feudal lord. I am glad that you're alive, nephew." Naruto smiled a small smile and Ichigo said, "So, how about you and I spend the rest of the day talking and I will have my guards take your lady friends to a guest room to rest for the day. I want to hear all about your life, both good and bad, and I would like to tell you about our family." Naruto said, "I would like that." Ichigo said, "Good, guards." Just then several samurai burst into the room and Ichigo said, "Please escort the ladies outside into the guest wing and see to it they have plenty to eat and drink as well as anything else they need. Tell them that my nephew and I will see them tomorrow sometime. Please have the kitchen prepare us a meal. Tell me, do you like ramen?" Naruto blinked and smiled a big smile and said, "It's the food of the gods." Ichigo said, "Tell the kitchen to fix the ramen feast for us." The guards all groaned and left. Ichigo asked, "So, tell me about your life." Naruto swallowed and said, "Well." Outside Tsunade was getting impatient when several guards came walking toward them and one said, "Please escort the ladies inside to the guest quarters. His lordship said him and his nephew will speak to them tomorrow." Tsunade smiled and thought, "So things worked out, good," as they were led inside. The following morning the sun was just rising into the air and the birds began to chirp when a knock was heard on the door to the guest room Tsunade had been given for the night, causing Tsunade to groan as she tried to cover her head to block out the noise. After a few minutes she gave up and began to get dressed. After about 10 minutes from the first knock to all the other random knocking, Tsunade finally dressed in her normal clothes answered the door and Renji stood there and said, "His lordship would like to speak with you privately, Lady Tsunade." Tsunade nods and said, "Let me grab my shoes." As she slipped them on and Renji said, "Follow me," as he led her down the hallway. When they stopped there was a huge glass door that was open with a balcony on the other side and Tsunade saw Ichigo sitting there with breakfast on the table he was sitting by and he said, "Ah, you must be Tsunade Bakken. Please come eat breakfast with me as I have much I would like to discuss with you." "That is all, Renji, please see to it we are not disturbed." Renji said, "Yes, your lordship," as he bowed and left. Tsunade thought as she heard the name he called her, "Must not kill," as she smiled and walked out on the balcony and sat down. Ichigo said, "Allow me to introduce myself before we start off on the wrong foot, my nephew," and I did. "I am Ichigo Uzumaki, the feudal lord for the Land of Lightning." Tsunade said, "It's nice to meet you. I see you picked up the brat's colorful nickname, huh?" Ichigo chuckled and said, "At least he didn't call you an ego-obsessed gay pedophile who has fucked up emo plans of power." Tsunade bit her lip and burst out laughing and said, "Sounds about right, so what is it you wish to talk to me about?" Ichigo sighed softly and said, "What are your long-term plans for him?" He told me about his life in Konoha. As he clenched his fist and continued, he also told me about his run-in with this Akatsuki, Orochimaru, his banishment, his fiancée Haku as well as his mate Kyuubi, and he showed me his unique bloodline as well as the end result of it, so I think I know pretty much everything he was willing to share, and he told me the only thing he wants to do now is get strong enough to protect his precious people and that he will follow you, so I ask you, what are your long-term plans for him? Tsunade took a sip of water and said, "I plan to teach him and the others everything I can. In the short amount of time I have known him he has wormed his way into my heart in a way no one else ever has. I see in him both my little brother as well as my deceased fiancé, so it makes me feel like he is the son I never had. I only became Hokage for him, which is why when they got rid of him I left with him. I don't really have a long-term plan besides making them all strong enough to do anything they want." Ichigo took a sip of coffee and said, "I see, do you know what happened to his mother, Kushina?" Tsunade said, "According to Jiraiya, his godfather, she passed away from complications during labor. At least that is what Sensei told him when he finally returned to Konoha after the attack. That is what Jiraiya told me when he informed me as to who Naruto really was after I accepted the job of Hokage." Ichigo looked out across the courtyard and after a moment said, "It's peaceful here. Isn't it?" Tsunade looked out across the yard and said, "Yes, it is." Ichigo after a moment of silence asked, "Do you really see him as your son?" "I mean, he told me that you were the closest thing to a mother or grandmother he ever had," saying the last part sadly. Tsunade looked at Ichigo and said, "Yes, why?" Ichigo said, "After I received your letter I sent a spy to Konoha to see if your story had merit and discovered you were telling the truth as well as learning about the political situation there. It is only a matter of time before they take your title of Hokage away and elect a new one. You do realize that, right? Tsunade said, yes. I also appointed Jiraiya as the Rokudaime Hokage to help keep Konoha busy while I got them to someplace safe to figure things out and begin to act. I didn't realize it at the time how much political influence the kid had though. Ichigo said, yes, I was surprised as well. Spring, Wave, T, and I hear Suna has also cut ties with Konoha over it. Tsunade said, yeah. 3 minor and 1 major country backing him. Not bad for a genin of 9 months. Ichigo was quite a moment and asked, he told me that his dream had been to be Hokage. Do you think that someday he would make a good Kage? Tsunade looked at Ichigo serious and said, yes, I do. I gave him my grandfather's necklace as a sign of my faith in him. I was planning to name him my successor when I retired from being Hokage. Ichigo looked at her judging Tsunade and said, good. Then it makes what I am about to say even more real. I have a proposal for you Tsunade, one that if you agree will shake the entire foundation of the elemental nations. Tsunade said, I am listening, as she gave Ichigo her undivided attention. Ichigo said, I wish to adopt Naruto as my son and have you become my wife and his mother officially, making Tsunade eyes wide as she tried to figure out what was going on. Tsunade bit her lip and asked, why? Ichigo smiled a small smile and said, don't worry about us caring for each other as the actual marriage is just the legal way to do what I actually want to do. You see I only became the feudal lord here because the previous one had one daughter who I had met in Whirlpool before it was destroyed after she ran away from here and we got married before I learned who she really was. Her father passed away and this country nearly was destroyed because 3 different parties tried to choose the next feudal lord. One was the Hidden Cloud Village, the other was the Hidden Whirlpool Village and the last was the Hidden Rain Village. Rain decided to destroy some of the competition and they attacked Whirlpool and my wife and I escaped. She then told me the truth and took the title of feudal lord as his heir to stop the war that was started between Whirlpool and Rain. She used her power to have lightning aid Whirlpool to force Rain back but then Rain got Iwa and soon it turned into the second great shinobi war with most of the fighting being in Rain and Whirlpool which ultimately finished Whirlpool off and turned Rain into a wasteland. You saw firsthand what happened to that country. Tsunade was quite a moment and said, yeah, I did. Ichigo nods and said, anyways, I am not able to have kids due to an injury and my wife died by an assassin during the war so I as her husband I was the new feudal lord. I do not wish to see history to repeat itself again so what I would like to happen is for Naruto to take my place after I pass away however as he is now he does not have the backing or the strength to go by unchallenged so this is where my proposal involves you. As my wife that would give you political backing to go to different nations helping to gain him the political backing, training, strength, and whatever else that he will need. You said it yourself that he already has some and I believe he can have more. He is his mother's child after all and anything he puts himself behind will get done. That will also provide protection for the Hyuga that is with him that I have no doubt will also be one of his wives. This Akatsuki worries me so with my power backing your group hopefully we can stop them before they can get him. Tsunade sighed and thought, I can see where he is coming from and odds are another great shinobi war will start if he dies without an heir. He's also the only link Naruto has to his heritage. I know if I turn this down it would hurt him in the end and it's only in title so I don't have to worry about anything physical but. What about Shizune? She's been with me for all these years and even left the new life she wanted to start in Konoha to come with me. If Naruto is my son she is definitely my daughter, and she said, I need to talk this over with Naruto and Shizune. I would do it for him but you have to understand she has been with me for the past 15 years. If he's my son then she is my daughter. I can't force this onto her or him without talking to both. I hope you can wait for the answer. Ichigo smiled and said, I am not going anywhere, so go ahead and think it over and discuss it with who you need to. Tsunade nods as she gets up and said, "Thank you," as she turned and walked toward where her room was. After she was gone, Ichigo said, "You know, Renji, it's not nice to eavesdrop." Renji stepped out of a side room and said, "My apologies, sir, but I have to ensure your protection. My honor demands it." Ichigo said, "Relax, my old friend. As I told her, I am not going anywhere for a while. I have many more miles to go before I rest my head." Renji asked, "Do you think it is wise to accept him for my heir?" Ichigo smiled and said, "As I told Tsunade, he is his mother's son. He can't stand still for long. He has to be on the move or he will go crazy. Tsunade also won't accept my deal. Her heart belongs to another already, even if she does not want to admit it. Besides, Naruto doesn't need a mother or father anymore. He needs something else, and those who are with him now are that. Love of a companion." Renji asked, "Then if you know she will decline the offer, then why make the offer in the first place?" Ichigo smirked and said, "Politics, Renji, politics. As we speak, word is already spreading about me backing of Naruto, as the other leaders have started to do. Some will speculate because of what you overheard, others will think it's because of my sister, and then others will think I am trying to lure him into a trap to get his bloodline or to join the Cloud Village." Renji asked, "Then which is it?" Just then a bird flew by the south wall and Ichigo said, "And there goes the spy the Raikage has in our rank, sending a message to him with what he overheard earlier. Now the Cloud Village will try to recruit him and his group as well as his allies, which will then spark the interest of other villages, which will then make people focus on Konoha, trying to figure out what they were thinking, getting rid of him, thus weakening that village's support, creating a power vacuum with Konoha becoming a minor village, and thus a new village will rise to power, and that village will have Naruto at its core, either as its leader or with his backing, earning him the respect and the life he should have always had. The life of a respected man who does not have to walk with his head held in shame but with his head held high and his shoulders straight. The man his mother and father would have wanted him to grow up to be." Renji said, "I see. You truly are a dangerous man, my lord." Ichigo said, "Only to those who are my enemies and those of my family." Before they leave Renji, I ask you to teach him the basics of swordsmanship, as I wish to give him my blade when he leaves. It's his by right now, since I have already learned all it can teach me." Renji said, "I will, my lord." Ichigo said, "Thank you for your support in my life, my friend. I hope your family will rule this land as I have when I pass on." Renji's eyes got wide a moment and Ichigo saw it and said, "That's right. You will take my place. I trust it to you. I only ask that you watch what's left of my family as you have watched me when the time comes." Renji said, "It will be an honor, sir." Ichigo looked over the yard and said, "The honor's mine." Tsunade walked into her room and sat down on her bed and thought, "What am I going to do? I can't marry him because I would never marry anyone or let them get that close to me again after Dan. To do so would tarnish the memory of him I have. It's why I refuse to be with him, because if I get too close to him I will lose him and I can't handle losing someone else. But what should I do about Naruto? I admit what he offers is a good deal, but should I sacrifice myself and Shizune for him? I never asked her for her opinion. She just came with me without question." As she sighed. After about an hour a knock was heard on her door, shaking her out of her thoughts, and Tsunade said, "Yes." "Who is it?" Shizune's voice said, "It's me, Tsunade-sama." Tsunade smiled and said, "Come on in. It's unlocked." Shizune walked in and said, "Oh, you're already up. I thought you might have slept in a little, since it's been a few days since we were in an actual bed instead of the ground. I came to see if you needed anything." With a smile on her face, Tsunade sighed and said, "Close the door and come sit. I need your advice." Shizune blinked and thought, "My advice? She never asked for my advice. I wonder what's wrong." as she closed the door and sat down on the foot of the bed. Tsunade bit her lip and said, "This morning I had coffee with Naruto uncle." Shizune said, "Oh." Tsunade said, "Yeah, he had a proposal he wanted to run by me concerning all of us in Naruto." Shizune asked, "Really? What was it?" Tsunade said, "You don't remember it since you weren't born yet, but the Second Great Shinobi War started over in these lands and we all believed it was started by Rain attacking Whirlpool for no reason. I learned this morning that wasn't exactly true. It actually started because there was a three-way political fight between Whirlpool, Cloud, and Rain for who would get the seat of the feudal lord since the last one had died and his daughter had disappeared." Shizune said, "And they fought because Naruto uncle got it." Tsunade said, "No," as she began explaining everything she was told. At the same time this was happening, Naruto was being led to the same balcony Tsunade had been at earlier and he saw his uncle there and Ichigo said, "Ah Naruto, I am glad you could join me so soon." Naruto smiled and said, "So what's up?" The silent dude in armor note said you wanted to see me, as he looked at the samurai who was leaving. Ichigo laughed a little and said, "Oh that's Howler. He used to be real loud until an enemy hit him in the voice box and he lost the ability to speak. Now as for why I called you here, I talked to Tsunade about a proposal I had and she is thinking it over right now. If she accepts then Tsunade will become your mother officially and I will become your father." Naruto frowned and after a second said, "No," making Ichigo look at him. Ichigo asked, "No what?" Naruto sighed and said, "You're my uncle. That is given and I appreciate the offer, but I finally know who my mother and father were and know they didn't just abandon me or hate me like people told me. I want to honor their memories and if I took that offer I would feel like I was ashamed to be their son." Ichigo smiled and said, "I am glad and I respect your wishes and you will always have a place here nephew. Since I don't actually have any other relatives besides you, I want you to have the Uzumaki blade and Renji has said he will teach you how to use it if you are interested. I can also show you a few jutsu I remember from when I was still a ninja. I figure with all the chakra I can feel you are releasing all the time that your control must be bad, so I can teach you the chakra exercises of Whirlpool also. Would you like that?" Naruto said, "Hell yeah." Ichigo laughed and said, "Well then come on, let's get started," as he got up and showed Naruto to the courtyard. When they got there Naruto was bouncing on his feet and Ichigo said, "You're just like your mother. So full of energy and excitement." Naruto asked, "So what do we do first?" Ichigo asked, "What chakra control exercises do you know first?" Naruto frowned and said, "Water walking, tree climbing, and I just started learning to water walk on my hands." Ichigo frowned a moment and said, "I see. Well then I guess we can start on the basics. Water walking is the first thing Whirlpool had for chakra control and then we moved up from there. Since you already know it I will show you the next exercise." As he walked over to a small pond and he walked out to the middle of it and closed his eyes. Naruto looked on for a moment and asked, "What are you going to show me?" Ichigo said, "Patience Naruto. Watch the water and tell me what's going on." Naruto walked closer and looked at the water and at first he did not see anything and then he noticed movement and he said, "Hey, this pond has a current." Ichigo laughed and said, "Close. What I am actually doing is moving the water in a circle around me making a small whirlpool. You have to focus on staying on top of the water and then also focus on moving the water below you by creating motion in the water with your chakra. You get it?" Naruto scrunched his nose and said, "It's like the Rasengan in a way." Ichigo frowned and said, "Show me that jutsu. I have heard of it but never actually saw it." Naruto nods and puts his hands together and said, "Kujibunshin no jutsu." And a Kujibunshin appeared and Naruto held out his hand as the clone began to help mold the chakra and Ichigo looked as the Rasengan formed. When it was done he said, "So you send your chakra into multiple directions and add the power to it while controlling it, correct?" Naruto was wide-eyed and asked, "How?" Ichigo said, your father must have made the Rasengan after he met your mother. Moving chakra in multiple directions is the next step of the exercise I am teaching you now. However, doing it in such a small area as you just did is something that would take a lot of time and patience to get. How long did it take for you to learn it? Tsunade, who had came out and said, he learned the first step in 12 days, the second step in 10 days and the last step in a week. Why? Ichigo said, impressive. To learn such a famous and deadly jutsu in such a short time is signs of a hidden prodigy. Now, as I was saying, the first exercise here, Naruto, is to make the surface of the water turn in a whirlpool in one direction or the other. Go ahead and try it while I talk with Tsunade. Naruto nods and walks out on the water, and when Ichigo got beside Tsunade he said, just forget about the deal. I told Naruto about it and he said he did not want us to become his parents. He said he finally knows who his parents were and that they did not abandon him or hate him, so he wishes to honor them. He said if we adopted him he would feel like he was ashamed of his parents. Tsunade let out a breath and said, I was actually coming to tell you that I refused the offer also. I don't think Naruto needs a mother now but friends and companions. But you already knew that, didn't you? Ichigo asked. Who, me? I don't know what you mean. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and Ichigo smiled and said, yeah, I knew you would refuse before I ever asked. Tsunade asked. Then why did you ask? What were you hoping to achieve? As she glanced around. Ichigo said, relax. I got the desired results to what I wanted. I have a spy in my men somewhere for the wreckage. Who it is I am not for sure, but I do know they send word by message bird. After our talk the bird was seen leaving the castle, so I am sure that the spy heard my offer for you. Tsunade asked in a controlled hostile voice, so you were using me? Ichigo said, no, I was using the spy to ensure the protection of the Hyuga who cares for my nephew as well as to cause Konoha some trouble. Tsunade blinked and said, explain. Ichigo said, simple, Cloud Country has 2 Jinchurikis already. One being the younger brother of the wreckage. Now with what we discussed this morning, when the wreckage gets the message he will first be interested in the Hyuga, however the moment he sees a free Jinchuriki all his focus will then go toward Naruto. When he hears that the legendary Tsunade is also with him and is willing to go wherever Naruto goes and is accepted, he will either come here himself or send a special envoy here to try and persuade your little group to come to Cloud and join the village. I know that Cloud has spies also from other villages, so the moment he starts to get ready to come, messages will be sent to other villages who will also focus their attention on Naruto. Especially when it appears he has 4 nations that would immediately join any village he joins. The other villages then will send spies to Konoha and to those countries to try and find something that will attract Naruto to their village, which will uncover the truth about how Naruto was treated, which will then reach the ears of each of the other feudal lords who will also themselves start trying to attract Naruto to them, because getting you on their side would gain them considerable bragging rights and power. When they find out Naruto is the son of the Yondaime and also my nephew, even more people will go after him to try and get the second yellow flash before he becomes famous, as well as gaining favor with me, which will also make it where they will take their business away from Konoha, trying to distance themselves from them in hopes to lure Naruto. Tsunade thought and said, thus creating a power vacuum that will have Naruto at the center to fill it. You do realize this could cause another great shinobi war? Ichigo said. Perhaps, or it could be a chance to unify each of the nations under one lord again. The last emperor was the 6 realm sage, and anyone who had large money or political connections made themselves a feudal lord of whatever they owned, dividing up the elemental countries until everyone suffers. Tsunade gasped and asked, are you insane? Trying to make Naruto the emperor is crazy. Ichigo said, but he has the best chance of anyone to actually pull it off, and if he does, then there won't be another great shinobi war. In fact, the age of the hidden villages could end if he wish it. He could change the war or destroy it. Tsunade suddenly fell to her knees as a memory hit her. Flashback. Tsunade drank a sip of her sake and asked, "What did you say again, Jiraiya-kun? I could have swore I heard you say something stupid and perverted." Jiraiya said, "I was just telling Sensei here about the prophecy the Toad Sage gave me before I was allowed to sign the Toad contract. He claimed I would travel across the world and see it like no one has ever before, and I will create a book that will make me famous, a perverted book. However, he also said that I will take a student who is prophesied to change the world forever either by saving it or destroying it." End flashback. She looked at Naruto, who was concentrating, and thought, could he be the prophesied child, and if he is, will he save the world or destroy it? Ichigo asked, "Are you okay, Tsunade?" Tsunade said, "Yeah, just lost my balance a moment. Must be the elevation here." As she stood back up, Ichigo smiled and said, "Well, take it easy. I have Renji going to start training Naruto to use the Uzumaki family sword later today, so I hope you don't mind me helping my nephew get stronger." Tsunade said, "No, that's alright. It will give me a chance to get the girl's chakra reserves higher." As she took one last glance at Naruto before walking away. As they were walking away, Naruto thought, what was that about? As he saw Tsunade fall a moment and then stand back up. When Tsunade was returning to the castle, Shizune walked out with Haku and Hinata, and Tsunade asked, "So are you both ready to begin training?" Hinata asked, "What about Naruto-kun?" Tsunade looked over her shoulder near the end of the courtyard and said, "He is already training with his uncle for now, and I am going to work on increasing your chakra reserves and physical strength. I want you both to use chakra and run laps on the side of the walls of the castle. Run 10 laps and then we will begin physical training." Haku asked, "How long are we going to be here, Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade frowned and said, "I don't know yet, but keep your things packed so in case we need to leave quickly we can." Shizune asked, "Is everything taken care of?" Tsunade said, "Yeah, Naruto already made the decision I was going to make, so everything is alright." Shizune thought, so Naruto did not want parents. I wonder why. As the teen girls began to run along the walls, Tsunade glanced at Shizune and said, "You also, Shizune. Can't have you falling behind the others now, can we?" Shizune said, "Hi Tsunade-sama." As she got up on the walls and chased down the girls and then past them. A few hours later, after eating lunch, Naruto walked out in the courtyard again with Ichigo, who had his sword on him, and Ichigo pulled it off and said, "Here, this belongs to you now." As he handed it to Naruto. Naruto looked at the sheathed sword, which was in a black sheath with a black strap connected to it, and he tried to put it on his side like Ichigo did, and Ichigo said, "You're still not tall enough for that style of kenjutsu. Here, let me help you." As he put it over Naruto's shoulder, with it reaching across the right shoulder and coming across his left hip. Ichigo said, "There, how does that feel?" Naruto said, "Weird. It's heavier than I thought it would be." Ichigo laughed and said, "That's because you're not used to it. Just keep it on you all the time unless you're bathing and changing, and soon you will not even notice it." Ah, here's Renji. Now Naruto, I want you to listen to him and do exactly as he says. Renji is going to teach you everything you need to know about using a sword. Naruto said, "Yes, uncle." Ichigo said, "Good, I will see you later. Renji, don't go easy on him." Renji smiled and said, "Hello again, Naruto. Now what do you know about swords?" Naruto said, "They're heavy and you can stab people with them, and they can be thrown to cut off people's heads and to stand on them." Renji blinked and blinked again and asked, "Where the hell did you hear all that?" Naruto rubbed his head and said, "My team had met Zabuza Momochi, and that is what he did, and he was a member of the Seven Swordsmen." Renji said, "He was also a disrespectful brute who never cared about his sword or his life. A sword is an extension of yourself. You will learn to think of it as a part of you that is missing if you don't have it with you. You will treat the sword with respect and it will not fail you. Disrespect the sword and it will end in your death." Naruto asked, "Huh?" Renji sighed and said, "Alright, I see how it's going to be." Draw your sword. Naruto reached up with his right hand and couldn't grab it and had to reach with his left hand to get it, and he had to pull 3 times to get it to come out of its sheath. Renji frowned and said, I could have killed you 20 times before you even drawed your blade. You must learn to draw it quicker, but you can do that on your own later. Now when I train you, I will be teaching you reflexes and defense. I will not teach you offense because a sword is a weapon of defense, not attack. You only attack when you know you can kill your enemy. Do you understand? Naruto said, I think so. Renji said, just remember this simple rule. If you ever go to attack me, I will hurt you and never train you again, no matter what your uncle says. Now repeat that rule. Naruto said, never attack you or you will hurt me and never train me again. Renji said, good, now defend yourself and remember the rule. As he pulled his sword away from his side and attacked Naruto, who tried to defend only for his sword to be knocked on the ground. Renji slapped his sword across Naruto's ass and said, get your sword and do it again. Naruto grabbed it and Renji attacked again, and Naruto fell on his ass the second time from the force of Renji attack. Renji said, don't wait for my orders. Get to your feet and prepare yourself again. Naruto got up and blocked the first strike and lost his sword that was swung away. Renji said, again. Naruto frowned and got his sword, and Renji said, repeat this every time you lose your sword. My sword is my life. To lose it is to lose my life. To disrespect it is to disrespect myself. My sword is a part of me. My sword is a weapon of defense, not attack. I only attack when I am sure I can kill my enemy. Naruto blocked the first strike and lost the sword on the second strike, and he said, my sword is, as he repeated what Renji said. It continued like this for the next 4 hours, and by that time Naruto was able to survive 10 strikes before he lost his sword. Renji smiled and said, good, now I will quit going easy on you and start to increase my speed and strength. You have seen all 10 of the major attack strikes now. Now we must work on your muscle memory and your instincts. You will also have to increase your footwork because you are too slow on that. When we finish for the evening, you will run 20 laps around the castle walls with chakra and 20 laps around the courtyard without chakra, and you will be timed. Every day you are to try and cut off a minute of your total time. Let's go. As he attacked Naruto again. This is how Naruto next week went by. He would do chakra control training in the morning with his uncle, learning to make a whirlpool go one way and then multiple ways, which he had only gotten 2 different rotations, and Ichigo said, you will not have mastered this exercise until you have created at least 10 rotations. The girls each ran laps every day around the castle walls, adding 5 laps each day until they reached 25 laps, and they were now starting to decrease the time it took to run those 25 laps. After that, Tsunade had each of the girls reading medical books, and then she began to show them the chakra scalpels. Hinata asked, is Naruto going to learn this also, Tsunade-sama? As she read over a medical book. Tsunade said, later. For now he is learning what he needs to learn the most, chakra control, speed, and defense. Where all of you need to improve your chakra levels, you all have nearly perfect control. Where he has more chakra than probably me but has bad chakra control, which is bad for medical jutsu. In fact, I doubt he will ever be able to do more than minor healing, if even that. None of us would be good as swordsmen, but Naruto would be, since his taijutsu is so screwed up from what I saw when he and I fought. Shizune giggled and said, that means he had no taijutsu to speak of. Hinata said, he does now. He learned the Toad taijutsu. Trying to defend Naruto. Tsunade said, and Jiraiya is the only one who could help him with it, since I never learned it and none of you would know it, so if I were to help him with his taijutsu I could actually hurt it. Haku nods and asked, so when will we be learning more medical jutsu? Tsunade said, you have all done well learning the chakra scalpels in a short week, and next week we will start with learning jutsu, but for now let's continue to increase your reserves, and it would also be a good idea when you're not busy to work on your hand signs. I want you to try and do all of them in less than 2 seconds. This will aid you later. As the girls had their training in Naruto had his events around the world were taking place that would change the fate of the world. The Raikage looked at the report he had been handed earlier and he looked out the window for several minutes and said, Bolt. Bolt. The equivalent of ANBU in the Cloud Village. 4 men appeared and the Raikage quickly wrote something on a piece of paper and said, have these people meet me here in 2 hours. As he handed the paper to one of the members and all 4 looked at it and nods before leaving in puffs of smoke. 2 hours later the door to the Raikage office opened up and 5 people appeared. One was a woman with brownish blonde hair with black eyes that had slitted pupils. She was wearing a Chunin vest and a black one-piece bodysuit. She was Niyugito, Jinchuriki of the Nibi. Next to her was a man who had a pair of sunglasses over his eyes, a white turban over his head and several swords on him with a pair of brown pants. He was severely tanned looking to be sunburned and had tattoo with the marking of iron on his shoulder and horns on his right cheek. He was Kara B, also known as Killer B, Jinchuriki of the Hachibi. Just behind him was Samui, Omoi, and Karui, the 3 Chunin students of Killer B. The Raikage looked at the 5 and said, I am glad you could all come so quickly. I have received a report from my spy in the feudal lord's castle that has caught my attention. It seems the heiress to the Hyuga clan, Hinata Hyuga, is currently in his castle, making the eyes of all 5 widen slightly. The Raikage said, but that is not the most interesting thing. She actually is not what I am calling you here for. It is her companions that interest me. How many of you have heard of the events around the attack on Konoha by Suna and Odo 3 months ago? Yugito said, it is common knowledge that the Kazekage was killed and impersonated by Oro. The Raikage chuckled and said, forgive me for that mistake. I meant the actual battle with the Ikibi outside the gates of Konoha. Yugito frowned and said, the official story is that Sasuke Uchiha defeated the Jinchuriki of the Ikibi, Sabaku no Gara. The Raikage chuckled and said, yes, Konoha does paint an impressive picture of the traitorous Uchiha, however there are several things I find wrong with that story. The first is they say Gambunta, the Toad boss, was fighting Shukaku and Sasuke Uchiha has never signed the Toad contract and Jiraiya of the Sannin was across the village dealing with summoned snakes at the time. Omoi said, so that means that there is another Toad summoner. The Raikage smirked and said, yes. Now what I find interesting is that Konoha has tried desperately to hide this fact, even going so far as to say the battle between Gambunta and the Ikibi was nothing but a genjutsu to distract everyone away from protecting the village. However, they can't deny that a genin was taken with Jiraiya when he went to look for Tsunade to become the Godime Hokage of Konoha. A genin who used red chakra to open his chakra points in his body after a Hyuga sealed them all during their match in the Chunin exams before the invasion. Killer B said, so Kyuubi got himself a Jinchuriki. Hachibi just wants to sigh, looks like all the Biju are going to eventually die. What's meant to be will be. So what do you want from me? As he crossed his arms. The Raikage said, can you please stop rhyming until this is over, brother? Now, as I was saying, the boy is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi as my brother has stated, but the boy is an interesting one from what I can tell, even for a Jinchuriki. According to my spy, the boy stole the forbidden scroll of seals out of the Hokage tower, knocking out the Sandaime Hokage, and learned the Kujubunshin no Jutsu in just a few hours and was able to make hundreds of Kujubunshin to defeat an academy instructor who tricked him into stealing it before he was allowed to graduate from the academy. He then was placed on a team under Hatake Kakashi, the only living student of the Yondaime Hokage, along with Sasuke Uchiha and some girl named Sakura. His team went on to face Zabuza Momochi, also known as the Demon of the Mist and former member of the Seven Swordsmen, as well as the Demon Brothers, on their first C-rank mission turned A rank just 2 months after graduating from the academy. The boy saved the life of Kakashi by actually transforming himself into a demon windmill shuriken. Zabuza escaped since Kakashi was injured and they had to protect their client. Sumui whistled and said, "That's pretty impressive, even for a Jinchuriki." The Raikage said, "Oh, that's nothing compared to what this boy has done." You see, later on in the mission the boy met Zabuza apprentice and they became close, though he claims he didn't know at the time she was Zabuza apprentice. He then killed two mercenary before rushing to the bridge that their client was building, defeated Zabuza apprentice in battle who was disguised as a hunter nin, saving the life of the Uchiha. Zabuza apprentice then took a Chidori from Kakashi to save the life of her master, and at that moment the multimillionaire Gato, owner of the Gato shipping industry, showed up with over 200 mercenaries to double-cross Zabuza and to finish off the rest of the survivors who were weakened from fighting. The boy somehow persuaded Zabuza to sacrifice his life to kill Gato so Kakashi would be distracted, while he actually saved the life of Zabuza apprentice, healing the wounds the chest of the girl, and then dealt with the remainder of Gato men, tricked Kakashi again as he disposed of the body of the hunter nin and earned the respect of the people of Wave, where they named the bridge they built after him and named him their national hero. Yugito narrowed her eyes and said, "That is an awful lot for a nearly fresh out of the academy student to pull. Tricking a Junin not once but twice during combat while he used medical jutsu to save someone's life without the Junin knowing." The Raikage smirked and said, "Oh, that is nothing." Karui said, "Forgive me for saying this, Raikage-sama, but are you sure all this information is correct? I mean, for you to talk about the boy becoming the Toad Summoner as well as defeating an A-rank missing nin and the Jinchuriki of the Aikibi in his released form is a little much, and you claim that is nothing. Something is not adding up here." The Raikage said, "Wait till you hear the rest and then you will understand. I know I was a bit skeptical of all this had the current events make it believable. Now after the mission in Wave the boy's team disappeared off the scopes again, probably to let word about him to dissipate so people would not notice him, but during the Chunin exam all 9 rookie genin who graduated with him took the Chunin exams. During the second stage his team met Orochimaru and the boy fought and saved the lives of his teammates from the Sannin, forcing him to flee but not before he gave the Uchiha a curse mark. All 9 genin made it to the preliminary round with only 2 other Konoha team making it, one team from Sound and the team from Suna, who were all 3 children of the now late Kazekage, including the Jinchuriki of the Aikibi. The boy then went on and defeated the son of the Inuzuka clan head in combat in the preliminaries. He then disappeared for the 1 month of the except for when he showed up just in time to save another Konoha genin from being killed by the Aikibi Jinchuriki Gaara, forcing him to flee, and then when Gambunta himself dropped the boy off at the hospital 2 days before the exam's finals. Yugito said, "So he was being trained by the Sannin at this time, I take it, as well as Kakashi?" The Raikage shook his head and said, "No, Kakashi actually said the boy wasn't worth his time and took the Uchiha to train personally in his own jutsu, the Chidori, while leaving the boy with a teacher who saw him as the Kyuubi instead of the Jinchuriki." Killer B said, "But that don't make sense. Does Kakashi suffer from incompetence?" The Raikage sighed and said, "I don't know. All I know is the boy defeated the Hyuga prodigy, defeated the Aikibi and his Jinchuriki before leaving to get Tsunade, where the boy had a run-in with Uchiha Itachi as well as Kisame Hoshigaki, in which after Itachi beat the hell out of his brother mentally and physically, who had learned of them being in the area after they defeated Kakashi, putting him in a coma, both fled. The boy and Jiraiya then continued to search for Tsunade while the boy learned to use the Rasengan. Within a month they met Tsunade and the boy learned the Rasengan, and used it in battle to save Tsunade's life against Orochimaru and his right-hand man Kabuto. As a reward, Tsunade gave him the Shodime's necklace and she became the Godime Hokage. Yugito said, "Quite impressive. The Rasengan is an A-rank assassination jutsu that took the Yondaime 3 years to create and Jiraiya a year to learn, according to the rumors I heard, though if that was all true, what about Jiraiya? Where was he during this battle, and where was Tsunade's assistant Shizune that always is with her? I met them once, remember, when we were sent to collect that debt." The Raikage said, "Oh, They were there except Tsunade had poisoned Jiraiya to keep him out of the fight, but he showed up handicapped and her assistant Tsunade injured herself so she would stay out of the fight but also showed up handicapped. I don't know all the details, but had it not been for this boy, Tsunade would have joined Orochimaru instead of Konoha for some reason. Now after Tsunade came back with them and she healed Kakashi and Sasuke, they were sent to T country where the boy killed former A-rank missing nin currently a reign nin Aoi Rokusho, damaging the region and helped to stop a plot to overthrow the ruler of the land of T. Yugito said. So he saved 2 countries, huh? Sounding doubtful. The Raikage said. Actually, that isn't his most interesting adventure. You see, after that mission he was again sent on another mission with his team to guard the actress Yukie Fujika's. Killer Bee said. He guarded Princess Fune, most impressive boon, maybe I can ask him to introduce me soon, as he rubbed his hand on his chin. The Raikage said. Yukie Fujika's is in fact a fake name. Her real name is Koyuki Kazuhana, the only child of the former king of Snow Country Saotsu Kazuhana and niece to the man who killed her father Dotu Kazuhana. Anyways, the boy guarded her back to her home country only to pull a coup d'etat and assassinated Dotu himself, earning favor from the princess and the country, also becoming another national hero. Yugito asked, so you're saying somehow this boy is being sent on missions that instantly upgrade, earning him sudden political backings? Nobody gets those type of missions in succession unless they have a reason for it. The Raikage said. I thought the same thing, but I now have a theory. You see, the Sandaime and the boy had a grandfather-grandson relationship. I believed that he wanted to ensure that Konoha would never get rid of the boy because of the political power he would have backing him. Sumui said. But the mission to Tea and Snow would have been after the Sandaime was dead, so why is he still getting missions that gave him political power? The Raikage said. Apparently Tsunade sees him as the son she never had and wants to protect him. Why else would she leave the office of Hokage and flee with him when the council decided to use the Uchiha defection to their advantage to either force the Hokage to banish him or to execute him, even though he was not in charge of the mission and aided in the fights against 5 Junin-level ninja, as well as going against the Uchiha, taking 2 Chidori to the chest and a broke neck from being slammed head first into the ground by the Uchiha. Killer Bee said. So he has regeneration from Kyuubi. The Raikage smirked as he put both his hands behind the back of his head and said, what if I told you that none of the things I have told you is why I am so interested in this boy? What if I told you that all of this pales in comparison to what is most interesting about this boy and the real reason I called you all here for? Making all 5 blink and look at the Raikage. Yugito asked, if gaining the political favor of 3 countries does not impress you, then what does? The Raikage said. 4 actually. Suna knew Kazekage as Gaara and he respects Naruto so much he severed all ties with Konoha, but that's not important. Everyone was gaping at him and Killer Bee said. Bro, are you stoned, or do you even have a brain in that big cone? Because if what you said about the boy is true, Konoha is boned, so what is so great about this kid that all else fails so I can go home? As he crossed his arm. The Raikage said. Oh, it's simple. The boy is the son of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha, and Kushina Uzumaki, sister to our feudal lord. Also, you see, according to the spy who overheard the boy and the feudal lord talking, Kyuubi gave the boy a bloodline that allows him to absorb other bloodlines as well, but the most interesting thing about the boy is not the fact who his parents are, what he has done so far, what his bloodline could do, or even who he is related to. The thing that is most interesting is the boy is Kyuubi's chosen mate. At that word the room was silent, but both Yugito and Killer Bee both grabbed their heads and fell to their knees. Killer Bee heard, I am going to kill that boy. I chased after her for over 4,000 years and she always turned me down. Let me at him, let me at him. Yugito heard, take me to meet Kyuubi. We have so much girl talk to talk about. How could she pick a mate without ever telling me? I thought we were best friends. The Raikage asked, what is wrong? Killer Bee, who was rubbing his head, said, Hachibi want to kill the boy and use his bones as a toy. He said Kyuubi should be his, so he is a little pissed. Yugito said, Nibi wants to meet Kyuubi. Apparently, they're gossipers. Making everyone sweat drop. The Raikage said, well, I can't have you going and killing the boy because I want to try and get him to join the village, so I guess you will have to stay here and train your apprentices. Yugito, you will come with me to the feudal lord castle and hopefully with Nibi help we can convince the boy to join us. Yugito said, yes Raikage-sama. The Raikage said, we leave at dawn tomorrow, meet me at the south gates at sunrise. You're all dismissed. They all bowed and left, and the Raikage thought, the next yellow flash with the Kyuubi at his control as well as his political backing. The boy is a gift from Kami to whoever can gain him. Konoha was fools. Block, 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 block. That was all Naruto could do at the moment because he was acting on pure instincts. In the time he had been learning Kenjutsu from Renji, he learned Renji did not pull any strikes. Naruto still felt the phantom pains from the strike to his chest and the strike to the ribs in his arms and wrist. Renji smirked as Naruto has been blocking him for an hour as Renji picked up speed and thought, not bad kid, but let's see you handle this. As suddenly all Naruto could see was blurs and his sword was knocked away, and Naruto sighed before he started to repeat the same saying Renji had forced him to say every time he lost the blade, but this time Renji did not stop his attack but sliced Naruto in the side and said, this is a fight Naruto, not a little kid game. I will not stop my attacks on you even if you lose your weapon because an enemy will not stop. Naruto quickly rolled out of the way of Renji's strike and leaps for the sword only to get kicked in the side. Naruto frowned and tried to get around Renji for the blade, but Renji was cutting him off each time, and Naruto faked right and rolled left and dodged a strike before he brought the sword up from a half crouch to intercept Renji's strike. Renji blurred out of sight and Naruto frowned and said, I can't see you. Only to feel a blade against his neck. Renji said, your instincts are good boy, but your speed and reaction time are still too slow. Tsunade said she wanted to start your ninjutsu training again, so today you will start working on your that, but to help you with your speed and strength I have a present for you. Naruto blinked and asked, you almost killed me just to tell me you got a gift for me. Renji released Naruto and said, yes I did. Come. As he began to lead Naruto out of the courtyard. Soon they walked into a stock room and Renji said, this is the castle armory. As he walked toward the back of the room and he said, here it is. As he reached over and grabbed what appeared to be a huge roll of black tape. Naruto asked, what is that? Renji smirked and said, this is something special my clan created a long time ago. No one outside of the clan has ever even seen this stuff before, so you are receiving a special gift of not only seeing it but getting to use it. This is magnetic weights. Inside this normal looking binding is little tiny threads of metal that are magnetized that affect you by the magnetic forces in the air. The metal is in everything here in Lightning Country. In fact, most believe this metal is the cause of RR lightning storm, which is why people try to stay away from it or dig it up and move away from their homes to keep their homes from being struck by lightning. Naruto said, then why are you giving this to me? Trying to get me electrocuted? Renji burst out laughing and said, no, and that is the secret of these things. They have been perfectly balanced to where they are totally neutral. Not positive or negative. They absorb the positive and negative particles in the air and which power the weights. The more power they have, the heavier the weights get, so the more you move the more they weight, and in reverse the less you move the less they weigh. Get it? Naruto asked. Then how do they help me? I don't get it. Renji said, alright, say you run 10 laps at your top speed in 5 minutes without these on. Now with them, if you push yourself to do those same 10 laps in 5 minutes, you will actually be running those laps in like 4.5 minutes when you take the weights off. Naruto rubbed his head and asked, then what makes these different than regular weights? From what I understand, you wear weight, you get heavier and slower, and then you take them off, you are faster. At least that was what happened with Fuzzy Brows. Renji smirked and said, that is true about regular weights, and what makes these weights so special is it does not train your body very much in long-range speed attacks but short burst of speeds. The kind needed for lethal strikes in Kenjutsu. These weights slowly increase your overall speed like normal weights but not by over-muscling your body. Instead they work on fine-tuning your muscles to work at a certain speed, and then when you are calm and ready you push your body to attack, which will then be lethal and unprepared for, because the enemy you are fighting will be used to you working at one speed and not anticipate your true speed. Remember, samurai use our armor-like weights to increase our overall speed even further than normal, and you will most likely pick up some weights for your arms, legs and chest to increase your overall speed, but since this looks like normal binding and you use it like normal binding for your arms, legs, and body, then you have a secret surprise that will allow you, when you're standing calm waiting for the enemy, you can then use the true speed that is not possible when you're fighting full force. Do you get it? Naruto thought a moment and said, this is for that quick draw thing I saw some of your men doing, right? Where they just disappear for a second or two and then reappear while the target gets destroyed. Renji said, exactly, this is what trains our clan to use that attack. Naruto looked at it and said, cool. Who would have thought? Renji said, yeah, it is pretty cool. Now remember, you can't tell anyone about this stuff since it is so treasured by my clan. Naruto said, I won't, I promise. And Naruto Uzumaki keeps his promises, as he looked sad for a moment. Renji said, sometimes a promise can't be kept, the one with the Uchiha is such a promise. You can't save those who don't want to be saved. Now let me show you how to put this on, and then I will give you a set of chest, leg, and arm armor to help with your normal weight training for now until you get some actual weights. The next day, as the sun rose over the Hokage monument, the guards at the gate were relaxing bored when a stomping sound was heard and one guard asked, hey, do you hear that? The other guard said, yeah, sounds like army or something. The first guard said, alert the Anbu. The other guard nods and runs in to find an Anbu. About 20 minutes later, the walls were lined with ninja ready to fight when the first person in the army appeared, and it was a fire temple guard, and an Asuma said, don't attack. Those are the Fire Lord's temple guards. As they approached the walls to the village they stopped, and the sound of stomping could still be heard, and down the road another group appeared and Asuma jumped down and said, what's going on, Master Ryu? As he approached one of the temple guards. Ryu said, the Fire Lord is coming along with his entire samurai guard and each of the temple guards from the Fire Temple. He is not very happy at the moment, and if your people are seen as hostile he will most likely have us destroy Konoha, so I would tell the Rokudaime Hokage Jiraiya to tell his men to stand down. Asuma blinked and Jiraiya's voice carried over all the ninja. You heard him, stand down now and prepare for the Fire Lord's arrival. Making all look at him as he now stood in Hokage robes with the kanji for Rokudaime on the back. Everyone was thinking, where is Tsunade? And Jiraiya said, all will be explained later today. Now prepare for the Fire Lord's arrival, or there won't be a later, because his men will kill us all. You may not know it, but if he is bringing his entire samurai guard, then that is over 1,500 men all coming along with the 120 fire temple guards from the 10 fire temples, then he could destroy us no problem if he chose to. Now stand down, using his voice very commanding. Each of the ninja frowned and quickly began to leave, and soon all that was left was a few stragglers and the guards at the gate, and Jiraiya walked between the gate's guards and waited. A few minutes later, the sight of hundreds of fully armored and armed samurai appeared in the distance with the Fire Lord's mounted carriage in the middle, and they stopped as they reached the gates, and they moved aside as the carriage came to stop at the gates. The door to the carriage opened and the Fire Lord stepped out, and he said, Captains, go through the village and bring every man, woman, and child to the town center around the Hokage Tower for a meeting. If any resist, then kill them. The samurai all began to move past Jiraiya, who was still standing there, into the village, ordering the 2 guards at the gate to go to the town center as ordered, while 2 samurai replaced them. As half of them entered the village, the others began to circle around the village. The Fire Lord shot Jiraiya a glare and said, "I have much to ask Hokage and I demand answers." Jiraiya said, "I have only come to power this morning when you arrived so you could witness my taking over and acknowledging the Godime final orders." The Fire Lord said, "I am aware of this and I will remember that when I deal with you. However, there are many here I am displeased with in your village and I am prepared to kill them all should I not be satisfied with the answers I receive. If you or anyone interferes, then their life is forfeited." Jiraiya said, "I understand." As he bowed, the Fire Lord said, "Good, now lead me to your office." Jiraiya nods and leads him toward the Hokage Tower along with all of the Fire Temple guards, ignoring all the people being led there under armed escort. Most still in their night cloths. As they got to the tower, there were several people already there, including members of the council as well as several ninja and civilians, and the Fire Lord said, "Empty the Hokage Tower of everyone and do not let anyone in besides Jiraiya and myself. If they refuse to leave, kill them. Shall we?" Jiraiya's face was neutral at the shocked looks the council members who were there gave as the Fire Lord said to kill them if they tried to enter, and Jiraiya led him to the Hokage office and he unsealed the doors and said, "Tsunade wanted to ensure no one entered between the time she left and I took over." The Fire Lord said nothing and he walked over and sat down in the Hokage chair and said, "I am very displeased in your village, Jiraiya." Jiraiya said, "So am I, sir." The Fire Lord said, "Good, then there is hope for this village. Now we wait." An hour later everyone was assembled and the Fire Lord walked out on the balcony of the Hokage Tower and looked over the crowd below and he said, "As you all can see, I have called a meeting. Before I begin, know that my men have orders. Should anyone interrupt me or try to resist they will be killed immediately. The people of Konoha has much to answer for and I will demand answers. Now where are the members of the council? I want you all to move to the front of the crowd so I can see you all and get my answers, and I mean all members of the council." As the shocked people in the crowd began to move to allow the council members through, they began to look scared, and when they all arrived at the front, the Fire Lord said, "Good, I see you can follow orders from your superiors. Now as you all can see, Tsunade Senju is not here right now. Because of recent actions of the council, she gave her 2-week notice, assigning Jiraiya as her replacement after making several final rulings. Now the first question I have is, why did the council believe that they had the right to use my name and office to threaten their village leader with the execution of a Konoha ninja if she refused to banish the ninja?" Making several people wide-eyed. Koharu said, "We did not threaten the Godime. We merely stated that her blatant favoritism to a threat to the village could not go on, and because of his actions the village lost the last Uchiha." The Fire Lord said, "Really? From all the reports I read, the Uchiha left the village by himself after knocking out his female teammate who tried to stop him, joining 4 Junin-level ninja who were Orochimaru personal bodyguards of his own free, which resulted in the death of 4 Chunin who were returning to the village, as well as the near death of 5 Genin and 1 Chunin when he not only refused to aid the recovery team but went by himself to Orochimaru while the others were fighting and dying. From the reports I read, the one you banished was able to catch up to the Uchiha who then fought him, driving 2 assassination-level jutsu into the boy's chest as well as nearly breaking his neck, leaving the boy for dead as he continued on to Orochimaru. So tell me exactly how it was the boy's fault. He was not the team leader for the mission, so why did you blame him for the Uchiha actions? Why did you threaten to have him executed or banished while he was in a coma fighting to live?" Several people were stunned since the council had forbidden all information about the mission to recover the Uchiha. Homaru said, "Based on the law created by the Nadaime Hokage, during wartime like we are now, any shinobi who fails a mission that endangers the village can be either executed or banished depending on the decision of the Hokage. The loss of the Uchiha to an enemy is a threat to the village." The Fire Lord said, "Really? Then why is it that Sasuke Uchiha is not in the bingo book for treason? After all, going to the enemy during wartime is considered treason if I remember correctly. No matter. After today I will simply post the bounty of $1 million on the head of the Uchiha dead or alive for all the headaches he has caused me, making several people shout out. The Fire Lord screamed, "Kill them!" as several people who were shouting suddenly were killed by swords or knives, including 2 council members, shocking everyone. Once everyone was silent and a few people crying, the Fire Lord said, "I trust there will be no further outburst like that, or I will simply stop this trial and kill everyone in the village and burn it down." Danzo asked, "If I may ask, Fire Lord Sama, why are you so hostile toward our village over a matter that does not concern you, trying to gain control of this situation?" The Fire Lord said, "That is where you are wrong, council member. The council made it my concern when you used my name and office when you were dealing with your own matters. Now the situation has gotten so far out of hand that 6 countries have cut off all dealings with the Fire Country, and I am losing around $6 million a week thanks to you. I have even received threats of war on not just Konoha but the entire Fire Country because of you bringing me into this matter. Wind Country, Spring Country, Wave Country, Tea Country, Lightning Country and Rice Field Country are all calling for the total destruction of Konoha. In fact, the Lightning Feudal Lord has issued a $25,000 reward for each of the civilian council members' head, a $500,000 for Danzo, Kaharu, and Homaru head. Then he also has issued $5,000 on over 600 citizens of Konoha for attacks on his family. Hiyashi said, "Excuse me, Fire Sama, but I am not aware of any Konoha citizen attacking any member of Lightning Sama family." The Fire Lord said, "That is where you are wrong. I have read the Anbu reports of the matter myself. Perhaps I should tell you the name of the Lightning Lord. His name is Ichigo Uzumaki, brother to Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze and uncle to Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the only child of the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha," making nearly everyone gasp. A civilian said, "There is no way the demon brat is the son of the Yondaime. Besides, he was never married." Jiraiya chuckled and said, "Actually he was married 2 years before the Kyuubi attack in Naruto as Minato's son. Why else would he have chosen him for such a heavy burden that you all have hated and persecuted him for?" I see most of the younger generation is confused as to what we are speaking, so I will tell the truth of what happened the night the Kyuubi attacked. The Yondaime was the strongest ninja ever, but there was no way he could kill the Kyuubi. Anyone who fought the Kyuubi that night could tell you how strong it was and how many died trying to hold it off. They can also tell you that the Yondaime did not arrive on the battlefield for over 4 hours. The reason he was not there was because his wife Kushina was in labor giving birth to his son. Minato knew that there was no way to kill the Kyuubi as it was, so he discovered a process to summon the Shinigami to help stop the Kyuubi, but he had to have something he could place the Kyuubi in where it would not be able to escape. The only thing strong enough to hold the Kyuubi and keep it from breaking free is a newborn child. A child is required because their chakra coils are not developed yet, and so as the child grows they would slowly absorb the demon's chakra, making it their own, and when they die they would take the demon with them. Minato was too kind-hearted to ask another parent to give up their own child if he was not also willing to do it. He sealed the Kyuubi into his son at the cost of his life, and all he asked was that we see his son as the hero he was. Not even an hour after the Kyuubi was sealed was people calling for Naruto death and several trying to attack and kill him. 98 shinobi and 339 civilians died in the riot after the Sandaime informed the village of Minato final sacrifice, leaving out the fact Naruto was Minato's son to protect Konoha from Iwa, who would have came and killed everyone in our weakened state. The Sandaime passed a law that no one was to tell the younger generation so that Naruto could grow up living a normal life, and any who broke the law was punishable up to being executed. Those 600 that have a reward on their head from the Lightning Lord were the 600 worst attackers on Naruto. He was hated and abused his entire life, and all he did was smile and try and make people laugh. Danzo said, "Stop with the sad story. The boy should have been made a weapon like every other village has done with their Jinchuriki. Take Gaara for example. A perfect Jinchuriki, trained from birth to use the demon's power and kill their enemies. Jiraiya said, and it was Naruto who summoned Gambunta and fought Gaara outside the village during the Chunin exams to save everyone here's life, and what did he get for it? His apartment was broken into and all his belongings set on fire, making a lot of the teens who did not know look on with anger at the older generation. The Fire Lord said, as much as I would like to see your counsel and you argue Hokage-sama, I do have other business to attend to. Now Tsuruhishi, please come forward and give me your report of the financial situation here in Konoha. The auditor Tsuru stepped forward and said, after careful record checking, my department has determined that Danzo, Kaharu, and Homaru are using the village funds for their own uses, which has resulted in the village being in department for $9 billion, sir. To hide this fact from the Hokage and the council, they have been stealing funds from the orphan accounts as well as citizen and clan funds to cover up their uses. Danzo said, this is absurd. I have done no such thing. Tsuru said, according to the records I have here, you have personally withdrawn from the bank $7 billion in the past 5 years. Your financial records show that you have earned from outside sources that are unregistered $5 billion in the past 5 years, meaning you have $2 billion that you have no rightful claim over, and you do not have any financial records to indicate where $4 billion of the money went to. At this time, I would have to say that you have been using them for illegal activities. Several people were shooting Danzo looks, and Jiraiya said, probably to pay for your own private Anbu unit called Root Danzo, which did not aid in protecting the village when we were attacked because they were too busy guarding your mansion, according to the report made after the invasion. Danzo said, I have the right to defend my property and those men are my private security force. Jiraiya said, as the Rokudaime Hokage, I want a list of each of your private security force Danzo and see if any are ninja of this village. If they are, then you Danzo will be charged with treason for misappropriate use of village resources during the time of war. Danzo said, none are. Jiraiya said, good. I want photo ID for each so I can give to every ninja of the village so they are not considered spies or traitors and killed. With a smirk. Danzo frowned as he said, yes Hokage-sama. The Fire Lord said, I assume the other two are just as incriminating. Tsuru. Tsuru said, indeed sir, shall I go into detail? The Fire Lord said, no, just give the report to the Rokudaime Hokage. Now I want Sakura Haruno and Hatake Kakashi to come forward. Kakashi and Sakura both walked forward and the Fire Lord said, now Sakura, your team went on a mission to Wave Country, correct? Sakura said, yes Lord Sama. The Fire Lord said, according to the reports I have read from all 3 genin as well as the report Kakashi made and the letter I received from the client Tazuna recently about the mission. I am going to tell you what I believe happened, and each fact I ask you will shake your head yes or no to see if the facts are correct. Do you understand? Sakura nods and the Fire Lord said, it originally was a C-rank mission and the client's name was Tazuna, a bridge builder. Nods. You were attacked by Chunin-level missing nins called the Demon Brothers. Kakashi pretended to die leaving the genin to defend the client. Nods. Sasuke Uchiha tries to take care of one ninja while your other teammate was wounded by the other. Nods. With a poisoned weapon. Nods. Kakashi arrives at the last moment to save the client from the 2 nins. Nods. Naruto bleeds the poison out and you discover that the client lied and that a business tycoon named Gato is after the bridge builder's life. Nods. You continue the mission and encounter Zabuza Momochi. Nods. Sasuke Uchiha nearly killed himself because of the key. Sakura looked down and the Fire Lord said, I am waiting Sakura. Sakura nods and the Fire Lord said, Kakashi said he won't let his team die. Nod. He fights Zabuza and is captured in a water prison. Nods. Naruto comes up with a plan to save Kakashi by hanging himself into a demon windmill shuriken and has a cage bunshin throw him to Sasuke, who throws it at Zabuza, and when Zabuza jumps to avoid it, Naruto changes back and attacks Zabuza from behind, freeing Kakashi. Nods. Zabuza and Kakashi fight until someone posing as a hunter nin kills Zabuza with Senbons in the neck and Kakashi faints. Nods. Naruto carries Kakashi to the client's house, where over the rest of the time there Kakashi is mostly bedridden and teaches your team the chakra exercise, tree climbing. The first thing he actually taught your team. Sakura nods and Kakashi feels several people glaring at him. The Fire Lord said, both your teammates train while you guard the client at the bridge and his family when they went to town. Nods. Zabuza is still alive and the hunter nin is his accomplice. Nods. Two mercenaries try to kill the client's family while everyone but Naruto is at the bridge because Kakashi did not want to waste time to wake him. Nods. Naruto saves the client's family and then comes to the bridge, fights the fake hunter nin who had already beat the Uchiha while you guard the client, and Kakashi fought Zabuza. Nods. Naruto beats the hunter nin, but the hunter nin shushin in front of Kakashi to save Zabuza life from a Chidori. Nods. Gato shows up with 200 men to double-cross Zabuza, and Naruto convinces Zabuza to avenge the hunter nin, and he does so by killing Gato. Nods. Kakashi orders Naruto to bury both the hunter nin and Zabuza while he checks on the Uchiha who was knocked out and leaves Naruto on the bridge. Nods. By this time several ninja are glaring at Kakashi. The Fire Lord said, so that explains why Naruto is seen as a national hero in Wave Country, because he did more on that mission than anyone else did by protecting his teammates, the client's family, as well as using Kajbunshin to build the bridge and help to repair the village. Now that explains why Wave hates you all. Let's take T Country. Your team was assigned to protect the runner for one of the two governing bodies there in a race, right? Sakura nods. Kakashi stays in the village while the rest of your team was sent to protect the runner. Nods. You encounter several missing nins which Naruto protected your team from while you all went ahead with the runner, where you met Aoi Rokusho who attacked your team with the Raijin. Sasuke tried to fight Aoi but got defeated, and Naruto showed up, saved his life, defeating Aoi and recovering the Raijin as well as protecting the runner, while you stayed with the Uchiha who was injured throughout the rest of the race and even carrying him when his injuries stopped him, that he received thanks to you and Sasuke being unable to protect him. Sakura looked down and nods. The Fire Lord sighed and said, well, I can see how that would explain why he is a national hero there as well. Now the Spring Country, formerly known as Snow Country. You were originally assigned to protect an actress that was later determined to be the actual princess of Snow Country. You were attacked by ninja again, and Naruto saved the princess' life on several occasions, going so far as to make a ladder of Kajbunshin to climb onto an airship when the princess had been captured so he could rescue her. When the princess tried to kill her uncle to free her country, her uncle took he hostage again, fleeing to the Rainbow Glacier, and Naruto chased them, fighting her uncle, freeing the princess as well as activating the generators that thawed the country from its eternal winter. Is that correct? Sakura said, yes, but Sasuke and I both fought ninja as well as Kakashi. The Fire Lord said, I am aware of that. Kakashi wanted to finish off his petty revenge from an earlier mission failure to the ninja he killed. The Uchiha wanted to test himself, and you wanted to prove yourself to the Uchiha. None of you were worried about the princess who was the client you were assigned to protect except Naruto, correct? Sakura looked down and nods, and the Fire Lord looked at Kakashi and asked, is there anything you would like to add, Kakashi? Something I missed? Kakashi said, no. The Fire Lord said, now Jiraiya. Since I understand why T, Spring, and Wave all are mad now, and from what the new Kazekage Gaara has said, the reason he is hostile toward Konoha is for banishing the only person he respected and was able to defeat him, as well as the person he wanted to marry his sister to form a new political alliance. Now from Tsunade report, the only reason she became the Godime Hokage was because of Naruto, correct? Jiraiya said, Yes, Orochimaru offered to bring back to life her brother and her fiancé if she would restore his arms from the damage Sensei did to them before he died. He gave her a week to consider. That same day Naruto and I had tracked her down and I asked her to become the Godime and she refused. She insulted the office and the Hokage and Naruto lost his temper and called her a drunk old hag and a coward. She was drunk at the time and she challenged him to a fight. They went outside and she said she could beat him with one finger and they fought and the alcohol got to her causing her to nearly miss the fact Naruto was trying to make a Rasengan to use on her. She realized it at the last second and had to break her word of only using one finger. She then called him a weak fool that never had a chance to finish learning the Rasengan just like it was only fools who would become Hokage. Naruto told her he would finish learning it in 3 days. She gave him a week. At the end of the week she met with Orochimaru and turned him down because she didn't want to take either side. She had poisoned me to keep me out of the way and knocked out her assistant Shizune. Naruto came back from training on the Rasengan and we all tracked her down where she was nearly being defeated by Orochimaru and his assistant Kabuto. I ordered Naruto not to get involved since the fight was over his head and Shizune fought Kabuto and nearly died until Naruto saved her. He then fought Kabuto for a while until Kabuto experience gave him the upper hand. He went to kill Tsunade. I was busy fighting Orochimaru and Shizune was injured so it was a surprise to us all when Naruto got in front of the strike after he had created a cage bunshin and took the strike through his hand. He then held onto Kabuto hand making it where he could not escape and with the help of the Kagebunshin completed the actual Rasengan. A jutsu that took his father 3 years to create, took me a year to learn and he learned the entire process in 1 month. He used the Rasengan and defeated Kabuto but not before Kabuto damaged Naruto's heart. It was seeing him save her life several times that made Tsunade take a chance and she saved his life, gave him her grandfather necklace and decided to become the Godime Hokage. She even acknowledged his dream of becoming Hokage and named him her original successor instead of me but the council ruined it so she took what belonged to her, took the reason she came to Konoha as well as taking another apprentice and left this village after declaring them free ninja with affiliation to no hidden village, taking the Hokage hat, her clan half of the village treasury as well as other things that was awarded to her as not only a senju but also the Hokage. Because of the council Konoha has lost the greatest medic ever, the slug contract, the toad contract because they have informed me as long as I serve Konoha they refuse to do anything but visit me so if Orochimaru decides to attack again with Manda, a lot of people are going to die before Manda is defeated since we have no summons that can take him. The Fire Lord rubbed his head and said, "That's it. I can't stand the sight of all these people. Even after hearing what all the boy has done in the name of this village most of the older generation are still looking at him as a demon. As of this moment I hereby withdraw all support of this village. I will send all my missions to other countries. My samurai and temple priest will not come aid your village if it is attacked or need help. I wipe my hands of this village. Your council has ruined the village and the people here are nothing but a waste, well the adults at least. My suggestion to all you children is if you think your families are wrong is get out of this village while you can because if you follow them it will lead to your death. Let's go." As he moved to leave. As people started to leave Jiraiya said, "This meeting is not over yet. Since the council has pointed out a law the Nadaime created for wartime I will point out several others that were created, gaining everyone attention." Danzo said, "You are not the Hokage Jiraiya. We did not elect you." Jiraiya said, "The council can only elect a Hokage if one was not selected before the Hokage retired or passed away and Tsunade selected me so you have no say Danzo. Interrupt me again and I will consider it treason and kill you myself. Yes, your little root agent may kill me in the process but I will kill you as well. Now that I have everyone attention. Since we are at war resources are going to become scarce. All perishable food will not be rationed to ensure that we always will have enough. All restaurants except for Ikiruka Ramen Stand will be closed. Ikiruka Ramen Stand will be allowed to operate it to feed the academy students and will be paid from the Hokage account. Eggs, milk, cheese, bread, alcohol, meat, fish, and other perishables will only be eligible to ninja of the village through ration stamps. No ration stamp, no perishable food. A civilian screamed, "You can't do that. We will starve to death." Jiraiya said, "You seem to forget, Konoha is a ninja village, not a civilian village. Civilians should never have been allowed on the council in the first place. If you don't like what I am saying, don't let the gate hit you on your way out because you are just using resources that our fighting forces need, so you are considered expendable. If you're not a ninja, then you have two choices: become one or leave." Everyone was stunned hearing Jiraiya, and he said, "Now where was I? Oh yes, the second thing is because of several council members we are nearly broke, so we are going to have to start taxing luxuries. The hot springs are now $10 more an hour than it has been, and that money will go into the Hokage account that only the Hokage has access to since the council can't be trusted. All hot water heaters in the village will be removed from homes and businesses and destroyed. The fuel cost to run them can be used in other areas." Koharu said, "You can't do that. I need my hot baths." Jiraiya said, "Are you saying you're not tough enough to do your duty, Koharu? If so, I got an ink pen you can sign your resignation letter with." Now where was I? Oh yes. All hot springs are now co-ed since we don't have enough to be picky between men and women. If you want hot water in your home, you can pay for a D-rank mission for some off our Genin and Chunin to use Kaden Jutsu to boil the water for you. There will be a curfew on all civilians. Any civilian caught outside after dark will be arrested and held by Anbu for a minimum of 1 week and will be questioned by Ibiki or Anko. All council decisions must be approved unanimously now. There is no longer a majority vote. The council does not have the authorization to order any Konoha ninja. If they do so, it will be considered treason and the entire council will be executed. All ninja missions must be approved and given out by me. No one else. Danzo, Koharu, Homaru. I can't do anything about the funds you took because they fell under the term of another Hokage, but I am stating this. If I find you have taken any more funds or resources for your own personal use, I will kill you myself. I would disband the entire council if I had the power to, but you all were power hungry and created laws after the Yondaime and the Sandame's death, weakening the power of the Hokage. I will not let what you did during other Hokage terms work for me. If you do not show me proper respect, I will send you to Ibiki or kill you. Kakashi, if you are late for any meeting or mission, your Sharingan eye will be removed and destroyed. As for the rest of you, the village is officially under martial law until this war is over. I do not require the council permission to pass any law, and the council cannot pass any without them all approving and my approval. If you have a complaint, complain to the council. Come to me and you will be arrested. Now for my last ruling. All females ninja while on duty inside the village are required to be without bindings or bras. That is all. Dismissed. And thought, hehehehe. In Lightning Country, Tsunade thought, why do I feel like killing Jiraiya? In Konoha, after the town meeting and the Fire Lord left, the town was in a state of shock. Those of the older generation who hated Naruto thought that all this mess was his fault and it was his way of getting revenge on them. The people who were either neutral or favored him thought that Konoha sins were finally coming back to get them. Most of the ninja of the village realized there was a power struggle in Konoha between the Hokage and the council that finally had come to head. Some thought about what would happen if they failed a mission: would they be banished? Some thought that Konoha was falling into a time of civil war. Others were just confused because of all they heard. The younger generation were looking at the older generation with questions. Those who actually knew Naruto, like the Rookie 9, were shocked that their home had been treating someone they knew like they had been. Each began thoughts about it and remembering their past with Naruto looking for proof to deny or accept what they heard, and each were sickened by the fact they actually found the proof. In the Hokage office, Jiraiya was sitting in his office with his feet on his desk and thought, so now that all the cards are on the table, let's see where this goes. Sakura was at Ino's house looking at her former best friend with tears in her eyes, and she said, "I can't believe this." Ino said, "I know, Sakura. Did you hear the adults talking about him like he was some kind of creature instead of a person?" Sakura nods and said, "That's crazy. I've been his teammate all this time and he has done nothing but tried to help everyone, never hurt anyone unless there was no choice." Ino looked up at the ceiling and said, "I almost want to leave this village if this is how they are." Sakura looked down and said, "Ino, can I stay here with you for a while?" Ino asked, "Why?" Sakura bit her lip and said, "My mom is one of those who hate him. I heard her saying it's about time they killed him, and..." Ino quickly pulled her into a hug and said, "Okay, you can stay here," stopping whatever Sakura was going to say. Inoichi downstairs screamed, "Ino, Sakura, get ready for combat." On Team 8 training ground, Sume Inuzuka, Hana Inuzuka, with their companions Kurenai, Kiba, and Shino were all there sitting, and Kiba asked, "But mom, if you knew about this, why didn't you ever adopt him?" Sume sighed and said, "Kiba, there are things that you were not told. Most of the council has done everything they can to make his life hell. They made it where he could not be adopted by any of the clans." Well, that was actually mostly the Uchiha clan's fault, but that's a moot point. The Ino Shikacho families all were supportive of him, as was I and Shino family. In fact, the only ones who were not supportive of him were the Uchiha and the Hyuga, but the Hyuga were at least neutral toward him. Just then the triplets started to growl and Hana said, "Everyone, we got company," as she got up in a defensive stance. Across the village, Team 9 were on their training ground and Lee was punching a log saying, "This is most unyouthful." Tenten said, "I can't believe this. How is it that we all missed what was going on? I thought we were ninja, yet we fucking missed the entire village treating the son of the Yondaime like that." Neji said, "He has defied fate his entire life and they still treat him like a creature. I wonder." Jiraiya-sama said, "Tsunade-sama took a new apprentice with her. Hinata has not been here for 2 weeks, is she Tsunade-sama apprentice?" Tenten frowned and said, "I wish it could be me." Lee stood back and took a stance before he charged forward and slammed his leg against the log and it shattered into a million splinters, making both his teammate look at him in shock. Lee turned and said, "Naruto, if it wasn't for Naruto I would never be a ninja again because he brought Tsunade back to heal me. If it wasn't for him I would be dead right now. Gaara came to my hospital room while I was injured and he went to finish what he started in the exams. Naruto showed up with Shikamaru and saved me while I was passed out. Gai-sensei arrived later but he told me it was those two who saved me. When you Neji and the others went to stop Sasuke I came to help. I got there and Naruto was fighting a man who could use the bones in his body as a weapon and he was holding his own. I wanted to repay him and told Naruto to go get Sasuke while I took on the Bone Nin. I gave it everything I had to defeat him and I would have died then, except I was saved again by an unlikely source. Gaara saved me because he came to repay Naruto for saving him from the darkness the demon inside of him placed him in. In the end it all comes down to my life is owed to Naruto and this village has done everything they can to destroy him and I can't follow this village anymore." As he reached up and pulled his hayate off and dropped it on the ground. Tenten looked at him in shock and asked, "What are you doing, Lee? You can't give up your dream to prove yourself a ninja to everyone just like that. You trained too hard to throw it all away." Lee said, "You not understanding, Tenten. I wanted to prove I was able to be a ninja, yes, but I also want to be a ninja I can be proud of. I can't follow a village that would throw away a hero just like that. What's stopping them from kicking me out next, or you or anyone else?" You saw it today. The council and the Hokage are in a power struggle and I don't think Jiraiya-sama is really trying to be the Hokage, I think he's buying time. Neji said, "You're right, Lee, he must be giving Tsunade-sama and her team time to get ready for whatever they got planned." Tenten frowned and said, "Not you also, Neji." Neji said, "Likely I owe Naruto a debt, Tenten. I hurt my cousin who has never done me any wrong because of my blind hate for the main branch. I destroyed years of happiness that I can never replace and now I have a chance to change that. I am going to ask Jiraiya-sama to send me on a long-term mission to track down Naruto and join him so I can be with Hinata." Tenten looked up at the sky and said, "I don't know what to think or do anymore. I never would have thought Konoha would be like this. I am honestly expecting a civil war soon because I saw how the younger generation acted when they heard what the older generation did to him." As she looked down for a moment only for her eyes to go wide as she jumped away as a kunai hit the ground where she had been moments before. Neji activated his bloodline and looked around and said, "There's 4 of them, all wearing Anbu mask with the kanji for Ne on them. They have us surrounded." Lee asked, "What do you want?" as he took a defensive stance. A voice said, "You have been corrupted by the demon and must be illuminated to stop the corruption from spreading." As several more kunais and shurikens flew toward them and Neji began to spin and screamed, "Kaden!" as Chakra stopped the weapons and he grabbed the shurikens and threw them at one of the root members. The sound of them hitting a log did not stop Neji as he said, "Lee, drop the weights while I cover you, Tenten, 4 o'clock." Tenten acting quickly pulled out her weapon scrolls and leapt into the air screaming, "Twin Rising Dragon!" as she began to launch all kinds of weapons in the area Neji told her to attack. Lee dropped his weights and was gone in a blur, soon finding one of the root ninja and slammed his fist into the mask of the nin, breaking the mask, and he did a roundhouse kick screaming, "Leaf Whirlwind!" as he kicked the man in the head, snapping his neck. Tenten, having used up both her scrolls, landed on the ground and the root member who had been hiding behind a tree charged at her and Tenten smirked as chakra strings formed and she yanked on them and her weapons flew into the back of the root member, killing him. Neji during this time had charged toward the one who had replaced himself earlier and was engaged in a taijutsu fight when Neji said, "You are within my range of divination, 8 trigrams 128 palms. 0.2 palms. 0.4 palms. 0.8 palm. 0.16 palms. 0.32 palms. 0.64 palm. 0.128 palm strike," as the man slumped to the ground dead. Neji looked around and said, "I don't see the other one, he must have gotten away, we must inform Jiraiya-sama immediately." Tenten said, "Right, who were these guy?" Neji said, "Root, that was the name Jiraiya-sama called Danzo bodyguards." Tenten frowned and said, "This is crazy, are we the only team to be attacked?" The sound of branches breaking drew their attention and all 3 got ready to fight when Guy showed up and he said, "I was too late, they attacked here also." Lee asked, "What has happened, Guy-sensei?" Guy said, "Danzo. He could not turn over the identities of his root without showing he had committed treason, so he had 6 teams attack Jiraiya-sama who with the help of Anbu were able to kill them all, but Danzo also sent his root members after anyone who would be sympathetic toward Naruto. So far Ikiruka ramen stand has been set on fire, but both the owner and his daughter were able to escape with just smoke in their lunges. Uruka at the academy was attacked in his classroom, but luckily Anko was visiting him and was able to help save him and the kids. Team 8 was attacked as well, but Hana in Izuka was there talking with her brother along with Sum and they killed 2 teams of root. I don't know who else was attacked as I came to find you all, we must report to the tower immediately and... Lee, where is your headband? Lee looked down and said, "I can no longer wear it, Guy-sensei. I do not agree with the council and the village. I owe Naruto too much to throw everything he done for me away." Guy saw it on the ground and walked over and picked it up and said, "Lee, I do not agree with the council and the village on this, but quitting is not the way to solve this. Naruto never quit and neither should you." Lee looked at Guy and said, "Hold it for me, If when this mess is over I feel different I will accept it back, but for now I can't. I will go with you to the tower to see what is going on, but then I will make a choice. Guy closed his eyes and nods and said, "Come then my team," as he jumped away. As the team followed they soon smelled smoke and saw the remains of fire from buildings, and Tenten asked, "Is this a civil war, Guy-sensei?" Guy said, "No, we have reports that Danzo has already fled the village to somewhere safe and his root members are covering his escape, but the ones who are here that attacked you are all the weakest members of his group." Tenten frowned and asked, "So what's going to happen?" Guy said, "I don't know. Jiraiya-sama ordered all of us to protect anyone who was attacked and bring them to the Hokage Tower." As they traveled by rooftop. When they got to the Hokage Tower, Team 9 was shocked to see so many people there, and Jiraiya was looking at the sight of the people with a frown on his face and thought, Danzo knew Naruto had this many friends and ally. He must have been planning this for a while. What the hell do they want? As he turned and looked at the two people walk into the room. Koharu said, "Jiraiya, you must stop this execution of Danzo personal B," as Koharu was slammed against the wall by Jiraiya, who was releasing